Mr. Secretary, sometimes a handshake is just a handshake, but when the leader of the free world shakes the bloody hand of a ruthless dictator like Raul Castro, it becomes a propaganda coup for the tyrant. Raul Castro uses that hand to sign the orders to repress and jail democracy advocates. In fact, right now, as we speak, Cuban opposition leaders are being detained and they're being beaten while trying to commemorate today, which is International Human Rights Day. They will feel disheartened when they see these photos. Could you please tell the Cuban people living under that repressive regime that a handshake notwithstanding, the U.S. policy toward the cruel and sadistic Cuban dictatorship has not weakened?
I got to tell you, that was just, it really makes you proud to be a U.S. citizen, to know that there are people like that in Congress, folks. Welcome as we start the week here on the Steve Malzberg Show, the week before Christmas. I can't believe it, although the weather outside is going to be frightful around here anyway. Joining us now is the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, a Republican from the great state of Florida. Hello, Congresswoman.
Well, thank you so much, and happy the week before Christmas.
Same to you.
It's a cold front here in Miami. It's big news, top of the hour. It's 72 degrees.
I love when you people down in Florida do that to us up here. I know it.
It really is news. Oh, my gosh, everybody's saying. And it's going to stay cool the whole week.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, well, we're getting another snowstorm tomorrow. So anyway, but that I got to tell you, that was just great the way you confronted Kerry. And the answer I got from him is what I would expect. I really can't believe anything he says anymore. Now it turns out that, and of course, you were talking about the handshake at the Mandela funeral where Obama shook Castro's hand. And now it turns out, just like with Iran, they had been talking to Iran for months prior to that a phone call that Obama made to the limo of the Iranian president and then said, oh, we're going to start talks now. They had been talking. And now it turns out, according to some reports, they're talking to the Cuban government as well.
Absolutely. It's all a ruse. This is the Obama administration is built on a facade and a ruse and a hoax, and they just can't come up with enough words to describe the non-reality focus of this administration and their inability to want to tell the American people the truth, or maybe it's their inability to even tell the truth. I don't know if they want to do it or they're just unable to tell truth from fiction anymore. But on the case of Iran, this is people are right now in their cars or at home, and they're thinking, that has nothing to do with me. Well, Iran having a nuclear weapons capability is a problem not just for Israel, even though it's always focused as an Israeli problem. It's a problem for U.S. security interests, and it's a problem for our allies throughout the world. We have security interests throughout that region, and that means that it's not just nuclear breakout capability, it's the weapons with which to carry those nuclear weapons. I mean, they can with these missiles, they can fire them off anywhere and everywhere, and that's why the people should be concerned. What else is going on that we are not privy to? The administration that promised to be the most transparent in American history is the most opaque, and when they can't obfuscate, they lie, and it's been frustration after frustration. Now it turns out that they have been in negotiations with Iran all along, and that's why it has been so difficult for us to pass these sanctions. I'm the author of the toughest sanctions laws on the books, and that's a bill that we passed last year that this administration has yet to implement. And we're trying to pass tougher sanctions now, but heck, we'd be satisfied if they just put into effect the ones that they have passed. So the president put it on as a campaign commercial during the elections, how tough he was on Iran, and now I know why he had to be led kicking and screaming, and he was forced to sign the law because they've been in negotiations all along.
Yep, it's very scary. And now with Cuba, which is a personal spot in your heart, of course, having come from there, getting out of there as a child. And if I was President Obama and I decided to shake Castro's hand, of course, now we know they've been talking. But that aside, my first reaction before we knew that was I would have looked him in the eye and said, "Release Alan gross. You know, I had Bill Richardson on here, and he made some news about a week or so ago, and where he said he went to Cuba. He tried to negotiate. He thought he had Alan Gross out, but then he made a mistake. He said, I screwed it up, Steve. He went to the press. He said he had a deal, and then they backed off on it. But this is intolerable.
Absolutely. And to think that we have to negotiate over the life of an American citizen who has been unjustly tried and sentenced to harsher terms. He's now entering his 5th year, and this is a contractor with the USAID who was in charge of giving communication equipment to the very tiny Jewish community in Cuba. And the Castro regime knew what Alan Gross was doing. I mean, they check everyone when they come in, and they tracked all of those folks. And just one time they decided, okay, that's it. We've had enough. This is a very haphazard, whatever regime that cares very little about the Cuban people's lives and wherewithal. Why would they care about an American citizen? So what has the U.S. done in response to an American citizen being unjustly sentenced and jailed under terrible conditions? We've made concession after concession. Right now we're battling the administration because they want to give a visa to this orchestra as part of their cultural exchange program with the Cuban regime. And this orchestra is one of the official bands of the Castro regime, and they actually play in front of dissidents' house, chanting to them so that
Castro can't hear it.
So that other people join in, and they can hear it. And this the administration is wanting to give them, as part of the cultural exchange, a visa to come to the United States so they can spew anti-American rhetoric and pro-Castro rhetoric.
Does it surprise you, though? Does it surprise you, Congresswoman?
No, it does.
No, let me ask. We're talking to Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Republican of Florida, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I got to ask you about this NSA considering an amnesty for Snowden. I mean, here's a guy who took. Now they're saying 1.6 million documents. Okay.
Yes, a treasure trove. The keys to the kingdom.
Yeah. And they're willing to make, in other words, say, okay, you come back, no charges, amnesty, as long as you don't tell anybody anything else and give us everything you have. How could you trust a guy like this?
This is unbelievable. This administration is so gullible. They're willing to make wheels and deals, and with whether it's Kim Jong-un in North Korea, heaven knows what we're doing with them, what kind of deals we're doing with the Castro regime, the Iranian regime, negotiations in secret. And, you know, all of those sanctions against Iran, they're way lower threshold than U.S. law and way lower than the UN Security Council resolution. So I expect for them to say, hey, look, Iran has fully complied with all these sanctions, sure, because you've made him at the kindergarten level.
Right.
And with Snowden, they're considering him, well, let's give him, as long as he can give us back the documents, let's give him amnesty. What? This is unbelievable. It just makes you want to tear your hair out.
Yeah, it really does, especially, you know, as a layman sitting here from afar, and for you dealing with this every day up close. It's very frightening is what it is on every level what this president is doing.
And they just don't own up to it. That's the maddening thing about it is that, well, even PolitiFact, which is no friend of conservatives, they label the Obamacare falsehood.
The lie of the year,
The lie of the year.
Yeah.
And Sebelius was here in Miami on Friday, and the Miami Herald, Mark Caputo, reporter, hats off to him. He tried to really have her respond. Is this a lie? Did you mislead people? And she turned the other way and just
wouldn't answer.
In
typical Obama administration fashion. Listen, Congresswoman, I hope you'll come back in the future.
Well, you bet, and I won't rub it in about how this cold front that's coming tomorrow. It's coming down to 72.
Well, you put on a sweater because I'm worried about you. I got to go. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Okay, thank you.
Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, ladies and gentlemen, on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.